When you get into your 50s, 60s, and beyond, there's a saying that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But the truth is, when you get into retirement, all of a sudden you have more space, you have more freedom, you have more time, and you start thinking, wow, if I'm going to live the rest of my life like this, then I'm going to potentially have to think about making some changes. Let's talk about that in this video because change is harder when you get older. Hi, my name is Raina and this is Small Retired Life. On my channel, we talk about all the good and all the difficult things about being retired, living in your 50s, 60s, and beyond. If you're new, welcome here. I think by the time you get into your 50s and 60s and beyond, your personality is fixed. You have a certain way that you think, you have a certain way that you want to lead your day-to-day, you have certain ethics and morals and all of that kind of thing. Retirement is like an intense shift. One day you're working and you're thought of as a certain type of person. The next day you get up in the morning and you're retired, and all of a sudden everything is different. You have more time and you have the ability to get up and do whatever you want, and it's amazing, it's wonderful, and we love it. But retirement will force you to at least a little bit change how you think and who you are. And as I mentioned before, these things are much harder to do. Change is harder to do when you're older because our personality is so set. There's a few reasons why being open to some change is really beneficial when you retire. As I mentioned before, retirement is this tremendous shift where a lot of the structures that you've had for many, many years are gone. Unless you're open to some intentional change in your life, you may end up replacing those structures with negative things. For example, sitting around too much, reading books, and not moving your body, which can contribute to poor health. And because you're sitting around too much and reading books, and you're not moving a lot, it's easy to feel like you're hungrier more, or you have that little snacky feeling. You know what I'm talking about. And so you go to the fridge or to your cupboard and you end up eating snacky things. So then you're not really hungry for regular meal times, so you end up snacking even more. The next thing you know, you're 15 pounds heavier and your blood pressure is higher because you're not moving your body. Or you're super bored, so you end up engaging in negative habits like drinking more or taking more medication because now you're more depressed because you're drinking more and you're heavier. All of these things contribute to a lower quality of life in your retirement. We often think this would never happen to us, but let me tell you, it does happen. When I first retired, I was like, oh, this is so great. I don't have to do anything. I would just get up in the morning. I would sling downstairs, have a cup of coffee, not have breakfast, get in my favorite chair and read books the entire day. Next thing you know, a week went by. I've been reading books. I've been not moving and I've been snacking a lot and I've gained weight. And now it's so much harder to lose the weight. I needed to establish some healthy routines, something that would get me moving. I needed to make changes in how I thought my retirement was going to look, and I needed to make some personal changes so that I would be motivated to do things that are healthier for me and for my mindset. As a retired individual, you're just in a completely different environment than you were when you were working. So the coping mechanisms that you were using when you were 30 or 40 may no longer apply because Some of those structures that you were using and helping you to lead your day to day were often based on actions and reactions of other people who were around you and what was being demanded of you by other people. Well, now you're on your own, and the only person that is going to encourage you to change is yourself, and maybe a partner if you have a partner. But if you don't have a partner, you're on your own for that. So you're not getting the encouragement and the push that you would have had in your 30s and 40s, because it's up to you now. So you're the one who has to create systems that will allow to make changes in perhaps how hard you're pushing yourself to do something, or the types of routines that you do every single day. No one is telling you these things, so now you have to do it. And that requires a different way of thinking. Why is this important? Well, because it keeps our life fresh. There is nothing more detrimental, I believe, in my opinion, to our health and well-being than boredom. And let me tell you, boredom happens. After months and months of you doing whatever you want or nothing at all, you do end up thinking, is this all there is? Is this what my life will be? And you do get bored. Everything gets boring after a while. That's just the fact of life. So being open to change and learning new things and adapting a little bit how we think will help to keep things fresh and help to motivate you. Because again, change is hard. It makes our brain work. It makes us do things that maybe we don't want to do. But that actually breeds motivation. And just because you're older doesn't mean that all of a sudden you stop wanting to be motivated. By allowing change to happen, it also allows you to become more of the real you. Again, thinking back before pre-retirement, a lot of your personality was formed by having to do something. You had to obey work rules. You didn't want to be disliked, so sometimes you agreed to things that you didn't want to agree to or you didn't necessarily believe in. Groupthink is a huge way that people cope to fit into work groups and society in general. So when you're retired, you don't have to do any of that. You can now think what you want to think. You can have an opinion based on what you really feel, and that is different. Being open to change and open to really questioning your beliefs and what you really like or dislike will allow you to become more yourself in retirement. And that's fun. That's actually exciting because your true personality will come forward. If you're open to it in a positive way, and if you're willing to change your mind about what you do or certain ideas that you might have, you actually open yourself up to a lot of possibility and a lot of opportunity. And again, you don't need to change yourself completely, but allow yourself to evolve. Allow yourself to come into a new you. Why is it harder to change after 60? Well, that's an easy one. Our bodies and our brain are wired for efficiency. And by the time that we hit our 60s, everything that we do is pretty much on autopilot. And that's not a bad thing. It's an efficient thing. It's what makes us efficient in life and makes us move forward. But here's the paradox in retirement. All of these routines and structures that kept us busy, kept us satisfied, and kept us moving forward are completely gone. The structure of getting up to go to work or family obligations, all of those things are gone. And it can leave us floundering, quite frankly. Now, this may not happen the morning of retirement. I found for me, it took a little while. First, I reveled in the loveliness of getting up in the morning, not having anything to do, doing whatever I wanted, and just kind of flowing along. But eventually, because most of us are creatures of habit, this gets pretty old and we start feeling dissatisfied. We start feeling like things just aren't quite right. Now, here's the thing. In our 60s or, when we're older, our brain can still change. It's called neuroplasticity. And it is that ability to change kind of the pathways of our thinking and how our brain works. But the fact is that it does get harder as we get older, and we need more help to make that happen. We need some helpful tools that will allow change to take place. Now, a lot of you will say, I don't really care about changing. I just don't care. Whenever there's a huge shift in our life, there is a necessity to change a few things. If we're stubborn and we choose not to change, often things tend to go sideways or life isn't just as good as it could be. If we're willing to open ourselves up to even just a few little tweaks, we can make retirement so much more pleasant and so much more fun. All it takes is a little bit of a mindset shift. And we're not talking about a personality transplant here. We're not changing the operating system, as they would say in computer speak. We're just upgrading it to the next version. And sometimes the next version comes with a few little hitches, but eventually it starts working really well. And that's all that we want to do. It also helps if we frame the change as something really small and something that's very helpful, as opposed to, I'm going to change everything and I'm going to do it now. I have a video on the 1% rule, and it's all about making teeny tiny little incremental changes. And this is kind of your first system. This is the first hack, is make all of your changes very tiny and very achievable, because it just makes it seem like you can actually do it. When something is overwhelming, you don't do it. You're not going to go out there and with no pre-prepared physical levels, you're not going to go and run 10 kilometers or 15 kilometers. And if you do, you may actually crash and burn. So the idea is that you make these tiny little incremental changes that help you keep new habits in place. One of the first things as well is to stop saying that you're too old for this, that you can't change because you're too old. Often that's a cop-out. Yes, we can change. Yes, it takes a little bit more effort, but we can certainly do it. If you place limitations on yourself, like age, from doing anything, then you're not going to be a happy camper. We, as humans, desire to be challenged and desire to do things. And the only way we can move forward is by not limiting ourselves on the basis of age. You see older people nowadays doing all kinds of things. They're running marathons, they're traveling all over the place, they're getting university degrees. And I'm not saying to do that, because I'm a big proponent of the small retired life. I don't think you need to do those things to be happy. But I do believe that learning new things keeps your brain active in retirement, and it makes retirement more fun, and it makes you look forward to each day rather than feeling like your life is over and that nothing new is going to happen ever again. Focus on identity-based change. Say to yourself, I'm a person who enjoys moving my body, instead of saying, I need more exercise. Place things in a more positive frame. You might think that that's kind of hokey and that it doesn't work, But I think it does work, because when you say to yourself, I can do this, or I can move my body, or I am moving my body, then you will find ways to do that. Whereas if you say to yourself, I'm a person who doesn't exercise, you're justifying that not exercising place, and you give yourself almost the permission to not exercise. Exercise is important, especially as we age, and changes that should be made in retirement focus on us being healthier so that we can enjoy our retirement more. So saying to yourself that you can do something, that you are the type of person who likes to move, gives yourself the permission to do those things. Mindset is really important. Our minds can tell us to do things, or they can tell us not to do things. So to train your mind to be a little bit more positive, a little bit more identity-based, meaning that you're saying to yourself, I can do this. I like doing this, as opposed to saying, I'm the kind of person who doesn't. Another thing that I would say when you're older is that you accept the learning curve. You accept the fact that it may take things longer. It may take more time to memorize things. It may take more time to go from walking to running. It may take more time to learn a new craft. That is perfectly normal. When you come to a level of acceptance about the fact that it will take you a little bit longer to do things, you start to think about, again, that whole identity-based thing where you're saying, I can do this, I will do this, as opposed to, this is going to take too long and I'm just not going to bother. Allow yourself to make change successful by having systems in place that will enable success. So for example, if you want more exercise, you can start off by walking 10 minutes a day. To do that, have your exercise clothes where you can see them, have your running shoes where you can stumble on them very easily, and this will be a reminder for you that you're only exercising for 10 minutes, so get those things on and get out there and walk for 10 minutes. If you want to lose weight, maybe meal prep, but instead of meal prepping for like the next, 7 days or something that seems unachievable, meal prep your lunches. Make some really great lunches for the next 3 days that you have available for you to go to during your lunch hour. It reminds you that you should have a set time to eat for lunch and that you have things prepared that are healthy. And hopefully that kind of a system will contribute to eating healthier and, as a result, potentially losing some weight. Allow yourself to succeed through systems that work for you. When I used to goal set when I was working, I always thought about, what is the end goal and where am I at right now? And what is the path to get to that end goal and how long is it going to take me? And then I placed systems in place that would help me along. For example, if I had to write some kind of a report and I knew today was Thursday and the report was due next Thursday, I would say to myself, I'm going to set a timer and I'm going to write so many lines or so many words or so many pages every day at this time. Well, because I had a pathway, by the end of that time, I would finish my report. I do the same thing for my videos now. I use that system by saying to myself, I'm going to publish a video every Tuesday. So I'm going to have this schedule to allow for that. And I schedule those things into my day. And that allows me to put out a video once a week. So give yourself tools and give yourself systems that will allow you to succeed in whatever change or whatever thing you want to accomplish. So can you really change after 60? Absolutely. but it will not happen through sheer willpower. It will happen through effective systems and exploring alternatives to what has been the status quo for you for the past many, many years. Give yourself the permission to grow and to evolve who you are. After all, retirement is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of a new chapter, and hopefully it will be the best chapter ever. That's where the happily ever after happens. All right, this is all I have for this week. Let me know if you've had to make changes in your retirement, either to who you are or how you do things or how you think. And if you have, let us know what types of systems and tools you used to accomplish that. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the like button if you like my videos, and I will see you all next week at a regular time. Bye.